What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of Sebastian's MMA Ramble. And today I'm going to feature some of the fights on the UFC 218 card. Now, I'm going to skip Tisha Torres versus Michelle Watterson because it was relatively inactive. Now, much respect to both fighters because fighting in general is just hard. But not enough to say about this fight. I'm going to skip over to Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. Now I'm going to break this one down round by round because I found it to be a very entertaining fight, but a very dangerous one at that too. So first round, one of the first things I noticed about Eddie Alvarez, which was actually pretty good and actually an improvement of what he used to do before, which is just brawl, all-out brawl. He was doing a lot of head and body shots and actually switching it up on Justin Gaethje, which I found very impressive. So there's a lot of body shots. There's a lot of left hooks to the body, right hooks to the body, and it kept Justin Gaethje guessing the whole time. I don't actually know if he was actually guessing, but he was definitely like closing up into his own shell. Now, for sure, one of the things I give Justin Gaethje credit for are those very, very gruesome leg kicks. And first opening, like first 5 seconds, he opened up with a low right kick, which is something that he kept on doing throughout the whole fight. Now, second round, Eddie Alvarez kept on switching stances, and he was actually coming into his zone now. The adrenaline dump was already done. He was already ready to fight. He was looking relaxed. He was looking very composed. He was actually thinking a lot more technically about fighting Justin Gaethje as opposed to just brawling with him, even though that's what it looked like. But Eddie Alvarez most of the time just ends up brawling. But I can tell that he's worked on being more composed and more technical and more observant for little openings, especially with like the combinations to the head and the body, which once again made Justin Gaethje guess. Third round, I personally feel that Eddie Alvarez outlasted both in conditioning and heart Justin Gaethje. That knee that Justin Gaethje took to the head was beautifully placed, but once again, it's an attribute to the improvement of Eddie Alvarez's technique. He's thinking about a lot more about technique. He's thinking about little openings. He's looking for little openings. He's creating openings, especially with keeping Justin Gaethje or the opponent guessing, and that's something that I found very impressive of Eddie Alvarez. But once again, Justin Gaethje with those leg kicks, I mean, I think I would have just tapped out. Can you tap out to leg kicks? I guess you can. And once again, Justin Gaethje coming into that fight was 18-0. No one had ever taken him out before. So Eddie Alvarez is the first person to take Justin Gaethje out, and in impressive fashion, he actually knocked him out with a knee to the head. Third round stoppage. I'm going to skip Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Perez because that was another inactive fight that wasn't really much to note about. I mean, I will give credit to Henry Cejudo for taking Sergio Perez down pretty much every single round, and it was, to me, a complete domination and a testament to Henry Cejudo's wrestling capability and power. I definitely would want to see him against Demetrius Johnson. Would he take out Demetrius Johnson? I don't think so. I think Demetrius Johnson at this point is going to be pound for pound king for quite a while until something gives out, age or something like that, because he's just too fast, he's just too smart, he's just too good at this point. I will cover Alistair Overeem versus Francis Ngannou. Wow. This guy's just, he's he's impressive, honestly. Just watching him warm up for the pre-fight little shows that they have, the little tidbits, the little clips that they have for open workouts. This guy, Francis Ngannou, is fast, and he's really good. He's fast, good, he's very technical, and he's ever improving. He's trying to improve. He's not just relying on his knockout power, and he knows that at the high level, the upper echelon of the talent that the UFC has in every division, you can't just rely on one thing anymore. And it's been that way for quite a while, and I can tell that he's actually working on every aspect of the MMA game, and that came through on that day, on Saturday night for UFC 218. This guy is just a very scary prospect, and a perfect matchup for Stipe Miocic, the current heavyweight champ right now. But going into this fight, Francis Ngannou versus Alistair Overeem, I already knew that Alistair Overeem was gonna get knocked out. He was gonna get taken out first round. I didn't even see it going to the second round. This was a tough fight for Alistair Overeem. Much respect to him for taking this fight, because it is MMA. At the end of the day, it is MMA. You never know what's gonna happen, but sometimes you do, unfortunately. And I just didn't see Alistair Overeem winning this fight. I didn't see it with his kickboxing. I didn't see it even with his experiences. Francis Ngannou is just too strong, and strength does matter, despite what people might say. Strength does matter, and if you look at Francis Ngannou, he looks naturally, unadulterated, strong. He looks beastly, and it's just, he is going to be a great matchup for Stipe once again. And I also truly believe that he's going to take out Stipe Miocic the same way. Now, it's going to be a more competitive fight, in my opinion, than Francis Ngannou versus Alistair Overeem. I don't think he's going to be able to take out Stipe Miocic as fast as he did Alistair Overeem, but I believe that he will sprawl on all the attempts that Stipe Miocic has for his wrestling or his shots. But other than that, I don't see him losing against Stipe Miocic, and I do believe Francis Ngannou will retain the belt for quite a while too, and will hold on to it for a while before it gets passed on, because heavyweight division and their belt, they don't really have anyone to hold on to the belt for too long. But I do see Francis Ngannou holding on to it for a while. Next one, Max Holloway. I'm going to break this one down round by round as well. So, great fight overall, but I had already known that I just didn't see there being a different outcome for this fight either. And Jose Aldo, let it be known, is just one of my favorite fighters, hands down. But you can't stay on top forever. And people always hate, and people always talk negative, and then they always forget what you've done for the sport or what you've done to build your career. It's almost like people have a short-term memory when it comes to stuff. So as soon as Max Holloway loses, all of a sudden people are going to discredit his whole career, just like they did for Anderson Silva or John Jones even. But this one was really good. Things to point out: Max Holloway just knows his range. He just knows how far to move back to avoid the major punches or kicks from Jose Aldo. And it's actually really impressive, because I noticed that Max Holloway's just having fun in there. So he has good range. He had good range throughout the whole fight. He was switching stances, and if you don't train, you don't understand how hard this is. I mean, some people, it just comes to them naturally, but if you're a classically trained or traditional fighter, switching stances feels very odd. But watching him do it, you can tell that he's very comfortable. He's ambidextrous as far as fighting goes. and he can switch stances and feel comfortable in southpaw position or traditional position, and that pushes you a long way, especially in a division as dangerous as the one he's in right now. He had good movement. And you know, one thing that I did notice about Max Holloway that's very notable is that even with Jose Aldo trying to take him on and attacking him, he still picked up the pace. So what he was fighting Jose Aldo with in the first round, trying to avoid all the hits, trying to avoid major damage, he was still able to pick it up so that he can just put the pressure on Jose Aldo. And that's just something that's very hard to do, very impressive. And once again, as a testament to his conditioning, it's very vastly superior to a lot of fighters' conditioning in the UFC. I mean, it's almost comparable to, I would have to say, Demetrius Johnson's. Demetrius Johnson's probably the best overall conditioning of all of MMA or the UFC rather. He just doesn't seem to be getting tired. He just doesn't seem to get tired in fights. I haven't really ever seen him tired. I mean, he probably got flustered for the Conor McGregor fight, but I didn't see him really get tired in that fight either. He just has a natural gas tank that, you know, he doesn't need to refill until he gets to, you know, the other side of the world. He was just taunting, especially in the third round, just taunting Jose Aldo, which obviously frustrates the opponent, and in this case, Jose Aldo. And it's almost demeaning, but you have to understand, just to taunt someone in any fight, you have to be that confident to know that you're not going to lose, or even the opponents or Jose Aldo's hits were non-threatening. I mean, that's a huge statement, and it also tells me that that's it for Jose Aldo. I think he should really evaluate where he wants to go from here, because Max Holloway is here to stay, and he's gonna be there for quite a while. One of the descriptions that I actually gave him is he's the conservative killer, because when you watch Max Holloway, he's not rushing. He's just playing around. He's almost like a much more technical version of the Diaz brothers. The Diaz brothers never put 100% into their punches or kicks, but Max Holloway is just a more technical, tightly sound version of the brothers. It's something, I don't know, amazing. I just like to watch like different styles of fighting and what works and what doesn't work in certain situations. But whatever Max Holloway is doing is working for him for sure. Now, good things to say about Jose Aldo. He lasted longer than the last fight for sure. But one of the things that I noticed again that he did is just he fed into Max Holloway's game. He started headhunting. He tried to punch his face in. He tried to chase him. And that was the mistake that Jose Aldo made. He fell into the trap, essentially. And it's an emotional game. It's an emotional battle. It's not, he's got the technique, you know. But what happens when you inject emotion into a fight? You start draining yourself. It drains you even more than the actual physical activity that you're doing, because not only do you have the body trying to function, you have the mind working overdrive to try to get something that you just can't. And he wasn't composed. He was already gassing out. He was just swinging out of desperation. But like I said, I mean, at least he kicked more this time. But overall, I just do not see Jose Aldo taking out Max Holloway. Or what I would want to see, definitely, is Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor. Now, that's something I would want to see. But seeing how Conor McGregor is getting in trouble outside of the octagon and making enemies inside, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Other than that, You guys know what to do. If you guys liked the video, please subscribe, leave some comments, suggestions as far as what you guys want me to cover. If you guys have a boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, grappling event you want me to cover, just let me know. I'll try my best to cover it. Thank you very much.